And now that our body, our mind are relaxed, let's continue by doing a reflective meditation, analytical meditation, in which we reflect on a topic, we come to its conclusion, and then we rest on whatever insight we get from the practice. So this is a meditation focused on the Four Noble Truths, the first teaching of the Buddha that he gave to his first disciples. And the first of these thoughts is to reflect on suffering, how we suffer, how we experience dissatisfaction. Even in the moments when we feel everything is okay, we suffer because we think things are going to change, or we are going to lose whatever we have accumulated or achieved. So suffering is a part of our existence, and the first step, the Buddha tells us, is to recognize that this suffering, this dissatisfaction is there. So let's reflect for a moment in that. Become aware of any sufferings you're experiencing right now in your life. What difficulties, both physical and mental, you're having in your life in the present. What challenges are you facing in your job, in your family, in your daily life, in your age? This is one of the things that sometimes we suffer about: aging, illness, contemplating that we are going to die, that our bodies are impermanent. And by acknowledging this suffering, we see that these are part of the human life, and that all other beings want to stop suffering in the same way as us. So the next reflection is to question if we can do something about it. So the Buddha tells us in the second noble truth that these unsatisfactory experiences have causes, which are ignorance, attachment, and anger. And from these three roots arise other disturbing attitudes. And when we're managed or dominated by these mental afflictions, we produce actions under their influence that causes us to get into situations that produce suffering. So if we abandon these causes of suffering, ignorance, attachment, and aversion, we can really start experiencing freedom and finding genuine happiness. So reflect for a moment in how negative actions that we create with our body, speech, and mind lead us to situations we encounter suffering, we encounter difficult situations when we act dominated by anger, by jealousy, envy, attachment, fear, anxiety. And recognize that there is a possibility of being free from these mental afflictions, because we are not always experiencing them. Sometimes we experience this, but not all the time. And by recognizing this, we know that we can stop cultivating those causes we are habituated to create in our lives, and that causes a lot of suffering. So the third noble truth is that there is a possibility of completely ceasing these unsatisfactory conditions and their causes, and that this can be actualized in our life. So reflect, how can it be possible to be free from this? How would it be to be not under the influence of these disturbing attitudes and negative emotions and the actions we do motivated by them? So this teaching tells us that it's possible to stop cultivating these causes. And we might ask, but how do we do it? When we get angry, when we get attached, when we act out of delusion, confusion, and disturbing mental afflictions. We have no control. It's as if they come and dominate our mind and our actions. And here's where the fourth noble truth enters, which is that there is a path. There is a path to be practiced and actualized in order to stop cultivating the causes of suffering. And how do we do this? We have to cultivate the opposite causes, the causes of genuine happiness. So imagine, bring to mind, reflect on what are the strongest causes of suffering that you cultivate over years and years you have cultivated, and you keep getting into those habitual patterns. And how can you start changing your life? We can begin by not creating more suffering, by not harming others, but by not acting when we are dominated by these mental afflictions, and by training in cultivating positive mental states, loving kindness, compassion, cultivating generosity, patience, and all the other virtues that helps us cultivate the causes of genuine happiness. So on one hand, we have to make this determination, come to the conclusion, yes, I've created the causes of my own suffering. And we have to come to the conclusion, yes, I take the determination to follow a path of an ethical life where I don't harm others, a path of developing concentration and presence so that I can act according in each moment to what is virtuous, constructive, and that will lead to my happiness and others' happiness. And the determination to train in wisdom, the understanding of reality, as well as to generate love, compassion, and bodhicitta, this spirit of altruism, to improve, to train our minds, to change our habits, not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of all those around us. So take a moment to let all these reflections assimilate. Just remain in the present. Let thoughts arise and pass. And just rest for a moment in that state of understanding, but also of knowing what you have to do to apply this teaching in your life, generating an intention, a motivation of being aware of our actions of body, speech, and mind, and the impact these have on others. and the determination to practice meditation so that we can create and cultivate new neural connections, new habits, new mental states, that we can become habituated to this and we can train our minds to act and react in a wiser way, in a more compassionate and kind way towards ourselves and others. So come back to the present, relax there, let all this reflection be assimilated. And when you are ready, dedicate this practice in the same way we generate a motivation to practice at the beginning of a session. We dedicate it so that we can keep cultivating the causes of genuine happiness, keep releasing and stop cultivating the causes of suffering, that we can continue on a path of self-discovery, wisdom, cultivating the qualities of the heart, but also discovering how we exist and how everything exists in interdependence with ourselves. And that's why our actions have consequences. So generate the intention to meditate daily practice, to develop a good heart, focused mind, and a wise mind, understanding, knowing how all phenomena exist, and react accordingly to reality and not to mental constructs. And with this motivation in mind, start moving your body, start releasing the tension and opening your eyes slowly. So in this practice, what we are reflecting on is the Four Noble Truths, this first teaching that the Buddha gave to his first disciples in Sarnath, this little town near Varanasi. And it's very recommendable to read the Sutra of these Four Noble Truths. The Sutra is a scripture in the Buddhist tradition, which has all these teachings of the Buddha, the words of the Buddha. And so I encourage you to read this text and reflect line by line, keep doing this meditation, but not only in the cushion, also reflect on it when we are acting in the world, when we suffer in ourselves or others, reflect on this and see that suffering in ourselves and see it's a reality that we experience dissatisfaction and all kinds of sufferings, physical and mental sufferings. So it's important to reflect on this continuously and then reflect on those moments when we are actually not being dominated by attachment, craving, aversion, anger, and ignorance. And those moments are moments of freedom. And we can start expanding these moments by the cultivation of concentration in our meditation practice, the cultivation of loving kindness, compassion, and other virtues of the heart. So we are going to be doing all these meditations here, and they're going to be recorded so that you can, and others that couldn't come, can listen to them later. Put the meditation on your headphones, relax. The supine posture is ideal where you rest, laying on a bed or on a yoga mat, and you close your eyes, and you can do these reflections continuously. The idea is to have a set of meditations that we can come back to and use them in different times of our life when we're feeling sad, anxious, fearful, depressed, or angry, and use these meditations as tools to train our mind in this path. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments.